Okay, so get this. We're doing a deep dive on, get this, a Donald Trump movie.
Mm.
But before you grab your Make America Great Again hats and all that, this
Yeah.
isn't about, the presidency or anything like that.
Right.
This is The Apprentice, which takes us back to the 80s
Yeah.
to, that whole world of like
Oh, yeah.
1980s New York City and tries to understand
Yeah.
the man he was before he was, that guy.
Right. You're in for a wild ride with this one.
Okay.
The director went there
Okay.
in terms of tackling these like early days,
Yeah.
but the director himself insists that it's not like a political hit piece or anything.
Okay.
He calls it more of a character study, trying to understand the man behind
Interesting.
the sort of the political persona that we all know now. Yeah.
Well, easier said than done, right? I mean, it's like giving a chameleon a personality test.
It is. But
Yeah.
that's what's so interesting about The Apprentice.
Because it really dives into Trump's early years, especially in Manhattan real estate.
It does, and it paints this, fascinating picture of Trump as this ambitious kid from the outer boroughs.
Okay.
Almost like an underdog, except with a silver spoon, right?
Right.
But he's got this insatiable hunger to prove himself, particularly to his father, Fred Trump Sr.
Okay.
And that's where I think Sebastian Stan's performance as Trump really shines,
Okay.
because he embodies that constant need for validation.
So are we talking like daddy issues on a skyscraper level?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
The film really digs into this idea that a lot of Trump's bravado, the ruthlessness that he's, unfortunately become known for,
Right.
stem from this deep-seated need to, like, earn his father's approval,
Wow.
which, according to the film, he never quite achieves. And it's heartbreaking in a way because the film also introduces us to Freddie,
Okay.
Trump's brother,
Right.
who, really struggled with
Hmm.
addiction and lived kind of in Donald's shadow. So
It's like a Greek tragedy set in a gold-plated penthouse.
it is.
You've got the sibling rivalry, the demanding patriarch, an empire at stake. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't make this stuff up.
Well, and this is where the film, it takes some creative liberties, for sure.
Okay.
But this is where a larger-than-life character enters the scene. Roy Cohn,
Okay.
played, I gotta say, with chilling intensity by Jeremy Strong.
Wow. Okay.
Cohn was a notorious lawyer and fixer in New York, known for his, well, very aggressive tactics, shall we say.
Yeah, wasn't he involved with like McCarthyism and all of that?
He was.
Okay.
And the film does not shy away from that at all.
Okay.
And he becomes this mentor to the young Trump, almost like a dark wizard teaching his apprentice the ways of power. And he lays out these rules of the road, which are basically attack relentlessly, never back down,
boy.
and always, always declare victory no matter what.
Sound familiar.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're watching this blueprint for, what seems to be Trump's entire public persona, just being written right there on screen.
Talk about an origin story, huh? So we've got family drama, political maneuvering,
We do.
and a mentor with, it sounds like, a very questionable moral compass.
Very much so.
What could possibly go wrong?
Right.
Well,
A lot, as we know.
we know a lot can go wrong. And The Apprentice does not shy away from showing us those cracks
Okay.
in Trump's kind of carefully constructed facade, even in these early years.
Interesting.
And there's a really poignant scene where Trump visits Cohn as he's dying,
Oh, wow.
most likely from AIDS. And,
Right.
in real life, Cohn denied having AIDS up until his death,
Right. Right.
which the film does not shy away from.
Wow, that's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Especially since that feeds directly into that conversation about,
Yeah.
like, truth and denial, which has really followed Trump throughout his entire life, you know?
Right.
It's like the film is saying, hey, this was there all along.
Yeah. It's a really kind of a powerful scene.
You see that little, that flicker of vulnerability in Trump.
Right.
And for a second there, you almost feel like a pang of sympathy for him. And then, boom, it's gone.
Yeah, like a steel trap snapping shut.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, is that the moment when he realized that any sort of vulnerability was a weakness, especially in this world that he was trying to, conquer?
Right. And this is where The Apprentice really, like, digs its heels in.
Okay.
It doesn't shy away from depicting some of the, let's just say some of the most controversial allegations against Trump.
Oh, wow. Okay. Give me an example.
Well, like, remember the accusations made by Ivana Trump?
His wife.
Yeah.
You mean about I don't want to get too graphic here, but.
Right, of course. But the film goes there.
Wow.
It depicts that very tumultuous period in their marriage.
Bold move.
It is a bold choice.
Yeah.
And it really blurs the lines between what we know to be true and
Right.
what the filmmakers have, maybe fictionalized.
It makes you wonder if it was intentional, though, right? Like, if they were trying to use Trump's own tactics against him in a way by, presenting these things, it makes us question everything we're seeing, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's like, how much of this is true? How much of it is, exaggerated?
It's such a fascinating observation, and it really speaks to that larger conversation, I think, about artistic license, especially when you're dealing with, a figure as polarizing as Trump.
Of course, of course.
Right. Some people are going to watch this and be incredibly unsettled by it.
Sure.
This kind of like intermingling of fact and fiction.
Right.
While others might see it as a stroke of genius.
Right, right.
A way to hold a mirror up to our own relationship with truth.
Yeah, yeah.
In this age of spin.
Spin, exactly.
It's definitely risky.
It is risky.
I mean, didn't the filmmakers launch a Kickstarter?
They did.
Saying that they wanted to fund this independently?
So that they could, avoid this kind of outside pressure.
That's right.
Which just adds to the whole thing.
It does. It does. It's all very meta. But
right.
Regardless of where you stand on that, I mean, there's no denying they really captured that energy of 1980s New York City.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's exhilarating and kind of unnerving at the same time.
Yes, the soundtrack, the fashion, the cameos. Oh. I mean, you've got Andy Warhol and I mean, it's like you're stepping into a time capsule.
It is.
You really get a sense that this is a city that is, it's on the verge.
Totally.
It's like a breeding ground for, ambition and ruthlessness.
Yeah.
Which I guess is why Trump thrived in that kind of environment.
Well, and that's what makes the ending so powerful, even if it's not a traditional ending.
Okay. So, spill the tea. How does it end?
How does it end?
Yeah.
Well, remember that scene with Cohn?
Yeah.
With the vulnerability.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's gone.
The film ends on a similarly haunting note.
Okay.
It doesn't show us, Trump entering politics or anything like that.
Right.
But it leaves us with this feeling, like this unease, like these events, the betrayals, the losses have hardened him in a way that's both tragic and looking back feels kind of inevitable,
So not your typical happy ending.
Not at all.
Right.
But a powerful one nonetheless.
Right.
It's almost as if the film is suggesting that the seeds for what was to come were sown right there.
Right, in those early years.
In those early years, exactly.
Wow, so it's a cautionary tale.
Maybe,
about, the seductive nature of power. Or...
Perhaps, but I think it's even more complex than that.
Okay.
It's a film that makes you really look beyond the headlines, beyond the sound bites and the tweets, and really try to grapple with the very complex individual that, that he...
Yeah, it really makes you think about, what we're willing to overlook.
Right.
Especially when it comes to, people who want power or want to be successful.
Yeah, and you got to remember, this is the 80s we're talking about.
Yeah.
Where,
greed is good.
Greed was good. Wall Street was king.
Yep.
And ruthlessness was, often seen as a virtue in the business world.
Totally.
So it's not like Trump created that culture, but he certainly seemed to master it.
Yeah. It's like he was a product of his environment, but then he also shaped the environment. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's like this weird feedback loop.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I think makes The Apprentice so challenging, but also so rewarding as a film.
Yeah.
Because it's not giving you easy answers. It's not like, here are the good guys, here are the bad guys.
Right.
It's really forcing you to confront some uncomfortable realities about that era.
Right.
And frankly, how they still resonate with us today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's this one line in the film that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Where Roy Cohn tells the young Trump, truth is what you can convince people to believe. And man, you see that play out again and again.
It's true.
Throughout the film, but also in real life.
Throughout his career.
His entire career.
Right.
It's chilling in a way.
It is chilling. It's like this reminder that perception is everything.
Right.
Especially now.
Yeah.
In this age of mass media and social media.
Right.
And Trump understood that
he was a master.
He was a master.
Showman,
salesman.
Yeah.
He knew how to tap into
people's anxiety.
Your desires, their anxieties.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this film is kind of a, like,
Yeah.
testament to that.
I mean, even the title, right? The Apprentice.
Right.
It takes on a whole other meaning
Yes. Yes, it does.
when you think about,
Yeah.
everything we know about him now.
It's like he's been apprenticing for this role his entire life.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
It's like an aha moment, So
Yeah, totally.
where does that leave us then? I mean, what's the takeaway from all of this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that if you want to really understand Trump,
Okay.
the man, the myth, the legend,
Right.
you have to look beyond the surface.
Yeah.
You got to look beyond the sound bites, beyond the tweets,
Right.
and really try to understand, like, where he came from.
So we're talking about like connecting the dots,
Connecting the dots, exactly.
seeing how these experiences, even if they're, fictionalized in the film,
Yeah,
might have influenced, the man he became.
absolutely. It's not about excusing his behavior,
Right.
but it's about understanding it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, by doing that, maybe we understand ourselves a little better.
Right, right, right. Well said, well said. So for our listeners who might be, curious about this film, would you recommend watching it?
I would absolutely recommend it.
Okay.
But, don't go in expecting like a traditional biopic
Right.
or like a clear-cut morality tale.
Right, right.
Go in with an open mind
Okay.
and just be prepared to,
Yeah.
maybe question everything you thought you knew about him.
And maybe question some things about yourself along the way.
Exactly.
Right. And on that note, this has been The Deep Dive,
Yes,
taking you beyond the headlines and into the heart of the stories that matter.
absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring.